Hello, my name is Les Wolf. I'm a professor of philosophy and religious studies at College of DuPage. I began my undergraduate career here at College of DuPage. I was interested in studying Chinese history, took a class in Asian thought here, was learning a bit about, Chinese, Japanese philosophy, got interested in that. That took me to Western philosophy, applied to graduate programs. I'm in a graduate program in philosophy. I'm also still interested in religious studies, studying religion as well. I actually thought for a lot of my graduate career, I might join a monastery, a Benedictine monastery after graduation. But I also had some interest in teaching. And then I met my wife, and then I decided not to pursue a monastic vacation and to enter the teaching profession. There's just something just so profound about being in a room with students and exploring ideas, exploring texts, helping them to develop their thinking, to explore themselves in the world. I mean, really all of that. And yeah, it's been wonderful so far. There are people out there that view these disciplines as intimately connected. There's others that view them as diametrically opposed and mutually exclusive. One thing we could say is if we look at the questions they're interested in, they're often interested in very similar questions. So religions are often interested in questions not just about gods and the afterlife and such things, but also questions about free will and knowledge and ethics. And of course, those are all core areas of philosophy as well. Philosophy across, across the world, across time. At the same time, many people see there as being a fundamental difference in the way that philosophy approaches these questions and the way that religion approaches those questions. I don't want to say that there's absolutely no difference between them, but I think often, they're not completely separate from one another. Another thing I could say is, many philosophers have been religious, and their religious beliefs have had some relationship with their philosophical views. And when we look at religion, again, we can see that so many philosophical questions come up in religion. So arguably, there are quite a few connections, but it's complicated. I don't think it's that difficult to get people to see that philosophy is deeply, deeply interrelated with things like religion, politics, economics, the law. But we can even go further. It's even deeply interrelated with science, even with math. Sometimes students are a little skeptical about that. An ideal of philosophy is to question everything. We want to question it intelligently, wisely, responsibly. The essential questions of philosophy are actually questions that structure our whole society, our whole lives. I think it does also render a service to society, which is something I care very much about, trying to do something that actually makes some kind of contribution to the world. I think a good way to approach this question is to look at the beliefs, the values, and the aims of the individual practicing the religion and the individual who's not practicing but is studying it. If we look at an individual who's practicing a religion, they might have a spiritual goal such as salvation, transformation, healing that they're trying to experience. They might be looking to become a better person, be more engaged in their communities through the religion, better serve their communities. When we look at the scholar who's studying the religion and doesn't have any such commitment, for the most part, the goal is just really to try to understand these religions, to try to understand their histories, to try to understand their texts, to try to understand their beliefs, perhaps to compare them. But for a lot of them, I think the ultimate goal, as it is with, people who study history or literature, not through the lens of religion, is to just better understand humanity and a human experience. And I think often there is also a goal of service, trying to help our colleagues, our students, the public, ourselves to better understand the world, to help forge a more peaceable world, a better future. Yeah, I think sometimes students are just surprised to realize that the professors are actual human beings. So I unwind in a few different ways. I love vintage video games. I play those quite frequently, often with my daughter. I love spending time outdoors, often go for hikes with my family, sometimes just relax and play puzzles with friends. And I've also become quite obsessed with the NFL. In the last year or so, football is definitely a great way to unwind. I just love Italy. Out of all the cities in Italy, if I had to choose one for vacation, it would undoubtedly be Siena. And just has a magnificent art museums. It was foundational for the transition from late medieval to early Renaissance art. And the Duomo, or cathedral, in the town is my favorite church in all of Italy.